I never expected to feel so heartbroken when the billionaire chose her over me at the wedding. My heart raced the moment he stood there, so easy to love, so damn infuriatingly perfect. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was a fairy tale gone dark, each moment heavy with what could have been. As I stood at the back of that opulent ballroom, the echoes of laughter ringing around me, my palms grew sweaty. The chaos of silk skirts swirling, crystal glasses clinking, filled the air with a fragrant perfume that felt suffocating. I could taste the salt of my tears before they even fell. There she was, his choice. Tall, radiant, a vision of everything I was not. Her laughter floated through the air like music, setting my insides ablaze with jealousy. She wore his favorite shade of blue, the one that illuminated his eyes like the ocean. Why did she have to look so damn beautiful? I took a deep breath. My sister, Elena, squeezed my hand. "You all right?" Her gaze dripped with sympathy, but it felt too heavy a weight I didn't want. I wished the ground would swallow me whole. The whispers around the room buzzed like angry bees. A couple nearby gasped in near disbelief. "Can you believe he's with her?" It stung, my heart caught in a vice grip. I wanted to scream, to claw at the vanity of it all. I thought I knew him, shared moments that danced in the dark. They slipped through my fingers like grains of sand. I could see him by the window, an intricate silhouette against the setting sun. He looked regal, but distant, lost in the haze of the moment. Our past hung so heavily between us like a shroud, and then there was her claiming my future. The silence that fell when the wedding planner called the guests to their tables felt oppressive, a heavy blanket suffocating every hopeful thought. I could hear my heart a rapid drum against the painful stillness. And when he walked closer to her, my world cracked in that instant. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. I wanted to scream, but all that escaped was a choked sob. His smile, warm and inviting, was directed right at her. I faltered. Could he even see me? I reminded myself of all we shared, but each memory twisted like a knife. The way he'd brushed my hair away on that rainy afternoon we were supposed to end up together. In that moment, as they shared a toast under the twinkling lights, a chill swept through me. A sudden realization crashed over my senses, leaving me breathless. I could not let this be the end. What if I fought for him? What if I exposed the truth lurking behind smiles and whispered secrets? Just then, the door swung open with a dramatic creak, and I turned, heart racing. A figure stepped into view, cloaked in shadows. My breath caught. Who was it? I blinked, trying to make sense of this unexpected intrusion. Had I missed something vital? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The figure stepped into the ballroom, and the air shifted. Light flickered off him like stars escaping the night, and I squinted, heart hammering. A man dressed in a tailored black suit, his expression unreadable, tore my gaze away from the chaos I had been trying to drown in. He looked out of place yet strangely powerful. He surveyed the room, and for a heartbeat, our eyes met. Something in his deep-set gaze called to a part of me that was desperate for rescue. I blinked hard, thinking it must be a hallucination triggered by heartbreak. But when his mouth curled into a slight smile, doubt slipped from my mind as swiftly as a bolt of lightning across a dark sky. I could feel Elena's hand squeeze mine, pulling me back from the depths of impending despair. "Who is he?" she whispered, her curiosity laid bare. The man moved toward the front where the couple was toasting, face illuminated by the golden hues of the chandelier above. I felt compelled to follow, to learn more, seeking any spark of hope amidst the tendrils of sorrow that entangled my heart. Without realizing it, I began to drift through the crowd, my pulse thrumming with a rush of adrenaline. As I made my way past tables draped with delicate linens, I caught snippets of conversation, fate, fortune, and the promises of love. I thought about all the dreams I had woven into the fabric of my life, now fraying at the edges. The stranger reached the bride and groom, easily commanding their attention. Just as I neared him, I overheard their conversation. "You don't remember me, do you?" The stranger's voice sliced through the chatter, rich with the weight of years gone by. I froze, my curiosity piquing as I leaned in closer. The groom, my once beloved, blinked in confusion. "Should I?" "I used to know the boy you were," the man replied gently, a mix of nostalgia and revelation in his tone. It hit me like a tidal wave, a connection, a whisper from the past. Who was he? What was the history he shared with him? Anxiety coiled tighter around my chest, and I took a small step back, fearing intruding on something too intimate. But then, my heart surged as I saw recognition sparked in my former lover's eyes. Suddenly, the room shifted again, a ripple in the joyful atmosphere as the bride turned, frustrated. "Can we get back to the celebration?" Her voice cut through, but all I could focus on was the way the man's brow furrowed. What was he about to reveal? Just then, he pointed toward me. "Isn't that her?" My stomach fell. The silence that followed felt monumental, amplifying the intensity of the moment. His fingers seemed to hold answers that could shatter or heal, and all eyes turned towards me. My cheeks burned under the weight of their stares, and Elena moved closer, her presence an anchor in this storm of uncertainties. "What do you mean?" Clarion voices merged into an unwelcome cacophony. The stranger stepped forward, his expression now serious. "There's something you need to know about him. Something that can't be ignored." The bridal party's laughter faded, replaced by shifting murmurs and rising tension. Was it possible that a revelation might weave its way among us, offering a glimmer of unexpected hope? Questions bathed my mind in shadows, each thought dark with anxiety. What could this man reveal that would change everything? Could he overturn the fairy tale gone wrong, bringing me back into the light? Suddenly, the man turned, and our eyes met again. This time, the gaze was filled with something warmer, empathy, urgency. It seized my heart. "You don't have to lose him," he said, and for a moment, time itself felt suspended. Then, a voice broke through, sharp like glass. "What are you talking about?" It was the bride, her smile now twisted with irritation. "This is our day," but the stranger didn't falter. "And this is about a love that transcends all illusion. You can't keep the truth from unfolding." The atmosphere thickened as I realized the daring weight of his words, and my heart began to race anew. Before I could process thoughts of doubt or fear, I felt a shifting beneath my feet. The ground was crumbling beneath the fairy tale facade. Moments later, lightning struck again as a familiar figure slipped into my periphery. My breath hitched when I realized who it was. Another heart pulled back into the fray, and a feeling of dread washed over me as my sister squeezed my hand tighter. Would I be strong enough to face this looming revelation, however it unraveled? Would I ever truly understand what was at stake between love and loss? As silence enveloped the room, I knew with a strange certainty that my life was about to pivot on an icicle's edge. One wrong step could lead to a fall, a fracture, or a chance for something unspoken, something worth fighting for. The tension in the room was palpable, woven tightly into the fabric of whispered conversations and unwanted glances. The stranger remained steadfast, intense in his intent to reveal whatever truth would no longer wait patiently in the shadows. I felt the quiet pounding of my heart, each beat a clarion call urging me to reclaim my story. Elena leaned closer, her breath a whisper against my ear. "I don't like this," she murmured, her eyes darting between the stranger and the couple who seemed to teeter on the edge of confusion. What could he possibly say? In that moment, the chandelier above caught the light just right, casting a kaleidoscope of refracted brilliance across the walls, but I felt none of its beauty. It was mere distraction from the storm brewing within me, chaos of memories flashing like lightning strikes through my mind, laughter shared in sunlit parks, the promises of forever exchanged in hushed tones, and the shadows of betrayal that danced along the edges. The man's gaze bore into mine, with an acceptance that stirred an inkling of hope, but apprehension followed closely behind. "You're not just a bystander, you're part of this," he said, his voice a low, reverberating tone that seemed to reach into my very core. "He needs you to understand." Every word wrapped around my heart like ivy, igniting old flames I believed extinguished. The warmth of my past surged, igniting a sense of longing for the love I had clung to with fragile fingers. Was this the moment I had been waiting for, or was it the final thread snapping? The groom, my once beloved, appeared lost, caught in a twilight between nostalgia and reality. My eyes were drawn to him as he clenched his jaw, tension radiating from him like heat waves on asphalt. He was there, just an arm's length away, yet an abyss stretched between us. To see him again, that familiar profile, stirred a mix of yearning and bitterness within me. How could he look so serene, so unblemished by the wreckage our love had become? The bride's voice rose again, a sharp counterpoint. "You don't know what you're talking about. This is not your place." The air felt tense, as if momentarily divided into realms of truth and illusion. "He knows exactly what he's talking about," I found myself saying, the surprising determination coursing through my veins like a river breaking free. "What does he know? What have you hidden?" The room quieted, an orchestra of dashed breaths and sudden heartbeats awaiting a conductor's cue. The stranger stepped forward again, emboldened by my words. "You've distorted the past, painting over it with your fantasy. Isn't it time for you both to confront it?" I felt grounded, as if something within had awakened and taken root. Staring at the man, searching for clarity, I realized I needed to know who he was. "What do you know about us?" My voice rang louder, surprising even myself. He hesitated, the moment teetering on revelation. "I know how deeply he cared for you, and how circumstances ripped you apart without you ever knowing the truth." The bride's expression shifted, shifting from irritation to unease, and her grip on the groom's arm tightened. "What truth?" she hissed, her polished persona fracturing under the pressure of this unexpected confrontation. Before the man could answer, turbulence swept through the crowd, and an old acquaintance slipped into the ballroom, their presence almost tangible. It was Sam, my childhood friend, the one person I hadn't expected to see today. His expression flickered between shock and understanding. He must have sensed the change in atmosphere. "Hey, what's going on?" Sam called, striding toward us with a mixture of concern and curiosity that drew even the bride's attention away momentarily. "Is everything go back?" the bride snapped, eyes flashing. As discontented murmurs bubbled through the crowd, I felt a fear wrapping around my heart, growing thicker with each passing second. What revelations would this man unearth? What would Sam add to this tangled narrative? The stranger stepped closer, urgency in his voice. "What I'm about to share is not to hurt you, but to set you free." Secret. Suddenly the lights flickered, and a low rumble of thunder resounded outside. It was a weather warning, echoing the inner turmoil. I could feel the walls closing in, a pressure building like an imminent storm. Secrets connect us all in ways we don't often understand, and every choice we make can lead us toward or away from love, he continued, his blue eyes piercing as if daring me to acknowledge their weight. Then he turned his gaze to me fully, and there was something in that loca mix of compassion and resilience, as if he carried the knowledge of my heart's deepest scars. And just like that, my sister squeezed my hand. Tighter. You don't have to stay if it's too much, she whispered, concern lacy in her tone. But as much as I felt the urge to flee from the chaos, something anchored me to that spot, an indefinable force pulling me ever closer to a revelation that felt as necessary as air. I wasn't ready when the stranger finally revealed, I know who the bride really is. She isn't who you think she is. In that moment, everything shifted. My heart lurched, willing me to brace for whatever came next. Who was she really? And would I like the answer? As the stranger's words echoed through the tense atmosphere, a frigid silence enveloped the room. The weight of the revelation hung thick in the air, and my thoughts churned in confusion. Who could possibly be standing before me, not just as a bride, but as a woman cloaked in deception? My heart raced, each beat a desperate plea swirling through my mind. I turned to the man who once held my heart, searching for answers, but he appeared equally lost. His eyes, deep and troubled, betrayed the mix of emotions battling within him: love, guilt, confusion. Elena, I whispered shakily, noticing her small face grow paler beside me. What does he mean? But before she could respond, Sam, having caught the energy of the moment, stepped forward, his brows knitted in concern. Maybe we should take this outside? It seems the storm's not just outside, he said, trying to break the pressing tension. Absolutely not, the bride interjected, her voice sharp as a knife. You don't get to speak of secrets in that way. It's unfair. Her posture flared with misplaced indignation and protective fury, as she shielded her truth, whatever it may be. Unfair? I couldn't help but interject, my own voice rising. Isn't the truth every bit as vital as the fabrications we wrap ourselves in? I deserve to know who you are, and what you've hidden from me. My outburst shocked even me, reverberating with a power I hadn't anticipated. I loved him, she countered, her pride undeterred. This was never about you. Then why the deception? Why marry him under false pretenses? My heart ached, now throbbing with a mix of anger and disbelief. Each word was a dagger drawn from the secret she carried so close. The stranger stepped forward again, planting himself firmly between us, as if he were a bridge over the raging waters. This is why we need to talk about the past. Just then, a crack of thunder flashed through the room, intensifying the mood, and a flicker of lights announced that the storm outside had begun to rear its head. Let's not forget there's a very real storm outside, Sam interjected again, his voice reaching for calm amidst the chaos. If you're not careful, this could spiral out of control. The bride clenched her fists at her sides, caught between panic and rage. What do you want me to say? That I didn't want to hurt him? Perhaps you should start with the truth, I suggested, the words spilling out before I could contain them. What do you gain from building a life on dishonesty? In that charged moment, the stranger sighed, his expression softening. It may be difficult to grasp now, but the truth is a circle that connects all of you. This is a chance for healing. If we don't confront it, it will consume you. It was heartbreaking to watch the anguish mirrored in the groom's eyes, glistening with pain and betrayal, revealing how deep the fissures ran between the two of us. My heart silently breaking for the love we once shared. The bride's facade slipped slightly, her bravado quivering. Okay, she began, her voice trembling, but she steadied herself before continuing. You want the truth? Fine. The truth is, I've been hiding something from you all. Tension coiled tighter around us, as she took a deep breath, the kind that asks for courage. I don't come from the family I claimed. My mother, her voice faltered, a slight hint of vulnerability cracking her steely resolve. She was involved with someone powerful. I ended up pretending to be someone I'm not. As questions filled my mind, something pricked at the edges of my consciousness, a hidden detail nudging to the forefront. Is that why you didn't want me around? Because if I knew who you really were, everything would shatter? Everything is already shattering. She snapped, the dam of composure finally breaking. I was scared. scared of losing him to someone like you, who knew the truth. Her revelation struck hard. Anger flared within me. Blurring lines I thought I understood. Was this truth opening me up to betrayal or revealing something deeper? Elena, I managed to utter, turning toward her. Why didn't you tell me anything? I deserve to know. She opened her mouth to respond, but my phone vibrated violently in my pocket, cutting through the escalating tension, sending a shockwave through every person standing in the ballroom. Pulling it free, I braced myself against the unexpected surge of fear. The message lit up the screen. We need to talk. There's more to know. Come find me. My heart sank. The sender's name blurred into focus, and I felt my knees weaken beneath me. It was a name I hadn't seen in years, the ghost of my past now materializing, pulling threads of connections I thought long severed back into the light. Suddenly, the whirlwind of emotions crashed over me, echoing the storm raging just outside. The whispers of my past intertwined dangerously with the fragile secrets of my present, revealing a web of truths I still hadn't deciphered. Who is it? Elena asked, concerned as she leaned closer. The attention of the room now shifted to me. I could only stare vacantly at the phone, the revelation dangling over me, whispering promises of new storms yet to rise. In that instant, it became all too clear. Nothing in my life would ever be the same again. As the thunderstorm unleashed its fury outside, my inner turmoil mirrored the chaos. The weight of that message felt unbearably heavy, each pulse of my heart synchronized with the violent reverberations of thunder. A million questions swirled through my mind, but the most harrowing was why this person had resurfaced. What more could they possibly want from me? Elena's piercing gaze locked onto mine, an unspoken urgency hanging in the air. Who is it? She pressed, desperation tinging her voice. But how could I explain the complexity of a past that was riddled with regret and lost dreams? Just someone I thought was gone, I finally murmured, the words drenched in unease. The honesty of my response only deepened the tension between us, a palpable reminder of those unresolved fragments of my life that refused to dissipate. Great, the bride snorted, sarcasm lacing her tone. Another layer of complication. Just what we need. Her bravado was crumbling, her defensive wall cracking under the weight of the truth she had begun to reveal. At that moment, Sam stepped closer, positioning himself not just as a friend, but as a guardian of our fragile peace. Let's all take a breath, he suggested, his voice steady yet soothing. Whatever is happening, we need to face it together. We can't afford to let these secrets keep tearing us apart. I didn't respond, my mind a swirling maelstrom of memories and emotions. I could hardly comprehend the weight of my past, now colliding viciously with the present. My connection to this mysterious figure sent a tremor through my understanding of what love truly meant. Before I could gather my thoughts, the bride spoke again, her tremor evident as guilt clawed at her confidence. I can't keep hiding either, she confessed, her bravado quickly dulled to a whisper. I should have told you about my past long ago, but I was so afraid of losing everything. Everything? I echoed, feeling my chest tighten. You mean I was just a pawn in your game, Elena? Sam cautioned gently, his expression earnest yet concerned. It's not a game for any of us here. We're all affected by the decisions we make. I never wanted to hurt you, she replied, her tears now glistening in the dim light. I was trying to protect my heart. My life is a mess. I only thought. Her voice cracked as raw vulnerability crept into her words. I thought if I could just become someone else, someone better, then everything would work out. But as she spoke, the anger that had been simmering within me melted away. I saw, beneath the layers of deception, a broken woman who had crafted her own survival amid fractures she hardly understood. Just then, the storm outside surged with an intensity that made the lights flicker ominously. A moment later, darkness cloaked the room as the power cut out entirely. Shocked gasps echoed through the space, but in the enveloping darkness, clarity struck me. We were all stranded in our own shadows, illuminated only by the unresolved emotions flickering in our hearts. "Elena," I breathed into the quiet, my voice barely above a whisper as I tried to navigate this unusual closeness prompted by shared fears. "I can't pretend I'm not hurt, and I can't ignore my past either. But what if we faced our truths together? You and me, and maybe even together with her," Sam finished for me, his voice resonating with understanding. "Yes, all our pieces need to fit somehow. But for that to happen, we need to face everything, not just the shadows, but the light that could emerge." Then, in a flash, the stark light of my phone illuminated the room again, startling us all. I turned it over in my hand, the message still lingering with urgency. "Come find me." My heart raced anew, and fear intertwined with fate engulfed me. "I have to go," I said, almost against my better judgment, the pull of the past too strong to ignore. I glanced at Elena and Sam, their faces flickering with uncertainty. "I need to understand what this means for me if I can ever have a life free from the chains of my past." "Wait," Elena called to me, stepping closer, her expression filled with a frightening mix of anguish and hope. "Please don't leave. I need to know, what if we could help each other?" Her words cut through the air like a knife, resonating deeply within me. But I could only shake my head, feeling the encroaching distance between us, both emotionally and now physically. As I hesitated in that moment, thunder rumbled ominously above, and a solitary tear rolled down Elena's cheek, held by powerful vulnerability. "What are you choosing?" she whispered, the weight of her hope heavy with the ache of her truth. The answer hung in the air, fragile yet monumental. And as I stepped toward the door, my gaze lingering on the two who represented everything I had struggled against, I realized the path ahead was not just mine to decide. The entangled shadows of our past stretched forward, catching me in a web of fate, uncertainty, and the fear of lost love. With a final look over my shoulder, I opened the door into the storm, knowing that whatever awaited me beyond the threshold could either shatter the friendships I cherished or weave us into something undeniably stronger. The rain pelted down in sheets, each drop a relentless reminder of the tumultuous emotions surging within me. I stepped into the wet darkness, the world around me blurred under the weight of uncertainty and chaos. The air was heavy, with the smell of damp earth and electricity crackling from the heated storm, mirroring the maelstrom of thoughts racing through my mind. I had just stepped into the unknown, both terrified and exhilarated, driven by the need to confront the specter of my past. Even as I walked away from the warmth and flickering lights of the gathering, the cold tendrils of guilt nipped at my heels. Elena's tear-streaked face lingered in my thoughts, each glimpse haunting me. I could almost feel her heartbreak a mirror of my own, and it twisted. She had laid herself bare, exposing her vulnerabilities in a way I had never anticipated. Her unguarded confession looped through my mind like a painful refrain. "Please don't leave. I need to know, could I really leave her in this dark moment?" It felt like betrayal, yet the thought of confronting my past was a siren call I could not ignore. The weight of that message hummed like fog in my chest. "Come find me." It pulsed with urgency, and beyond it lay answers I had buried deep within myself, answers I craved. As I moved through the tempest, the tumult in the air worsened, blurring my vision. The streets glistened with rain, and I stumbled, soaked and shivering. In that instant, I became acutely aware of my isolation, of how deeply entwined my life had become with Elena, and saw a connection that now felt fragile and frayed. Moments later, a sudden flash lit up the night sky, illuminating a figure standing beneath the far streetlight, a silhouette shrouded in shadow despite the radiance of the lightning. My heart raced as memories surged, faces and laughter from a past I had tried so hard to move beyond. Was it them? Was the ghost of my once familiar life calling me back? As I drew closer, recognition roared through me like the thunder overhead. It was Claire, the face I used to know intimately, now obscured by years and choices that had divided us. The life we'd once dreamed of seemed like a distant fairy tale barely accessible through the fog of nostalgia. She didn't see me at first. Her head was bent low, shoulders hunched against the dark downpour. But when she finally lifted her gaze, her eyes met mine, narrowing with recognition yet filled with an emotion that twisted my stomach, a mix of resentment and longing that could drown a person. "Why are you here?" she snapped, each word laced with an undertone of hurt that felt all too familiar. I thought I was done with the ghosts of my past. Despite her anger, I felt a knot in my throat, unable to hide the connection that pulsed between USA Connection tinged with all those unfinished sentences and silent apologies. "I'm here to confront it." "To confront you," I replied, my own voice thick with emotion. "There are things we need to talk about." For a moment, we both stood there, two souls drenched in rain and misunderstanding, as the storm raged around us. I tried to read her expression, trying to decipher what she felt, what she really thought. "I don't want to revisit that chapter," Claire said finally, her voice barely audible above the murmuring storm. "I came here to escape it, to forget." "You can't pretend it never happened," I pleaded, my heart aching under the weight of years spent avoiding this confrontation. "It shattered us. We can't expect to rebuild without acknowledging the ruins." Her silence was deafening, but in her eyes, I saw a flicker. Was it regret? Hope? Something between us stirred in that moment, powerful and undeniable. Before I could register my thoughts, she spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if it's too late? What if we can never go back?" "Maybe we can't go back," I replied, the storm in my heart mirroring the tempest around us. "But we can move forward together or apart. That's our choice." As those words left my lips, I felt the air crackle with an electricity that only memories of lost love could summon. I saw the weight of choices flood her eyes, but just as she opened her mouth to respond, a blinding flash of lightning struck the ground nearby, effectively ending our moment of connection. But then, just as the thunder cracked overhead, a sudden roar interrupted our fragile conversation. A massive tree branch, slick with rain, crashed down mere feet from us, sending splinters flying in every direction. Time froze, caught between our past and this unexpected danger. As I instinctively pushed Claire aside, wrapping my arms around her to shield her from the chaos, my heart pounded. The split-second act of protection ignited a spark deep within me, a flicker of a feeling I thought I had buried. But as I stared into her eyes, suddenly very aware of how close we were, everything else faded into the background. The storm continued its rage above us, but within that confinement of protection stood a moment suspended in time. What choices would we make next? With the knowledge of fragmented hearts pulsing between us, I couldn't help but wonder if now, amidst the chaos, I could finally confront the bonds that held us captive. There, in the downpour, I felt the weight of the storm and my own conflicted heart pressing heavily against me, and I knew nothing would ever be the same. The rain continued to pour in relentless torrents, cascading off the brim of my hat and pooling at our feet as we stood frozen in that moment, hearts racing in tandem. I could feel Claire's breath against my skin, mingling with the scent of wet earth and something deeper, something that pulled at the frayed threads of my past. I still held her, my arms encircling her waist, that instinctive act of protection igniting a flicker of warmth amidst the cold. As the echoes of the crash faded, our fragile standoff was suddenly filled with urgency. Claire leaned slightly into me, her breath trembling like the energy in the air. She searched my eyes, seeking answers that danced just beyond reach, and for the first time, I saw a glimpse of the girl I had once loved, so fiercely lost but not forgotten. I lowered my voice, even as the storm raged on. "We can't hide from what happened. Not anymore. I've spent years running, Claire. I thought leaving it all behind would help me forget." She pulled back slightly, her brow furrowed with confusion and something else, perhaps desire. "What do you want me to say? That I wish it never happened? That I can just magically erase the pain?" Her voice shook, Echoing a frustration that mirrored my OWN.and I replied softly, drawing her in again, I want us to acknowledge it. We were broken, but that doesn't mean we can't find a way forward. I want to understand your pain. The sincerity of my words hung in the air, tangible and thick. I could see the war within her, the conflicting emotions defeating one another with each whispered heartbeat. Just then, a gust of wind swept through, forcing me to brace myself as droplets lashed against my skin. It felt like a metaphor for everything nature's fury mirroring the turmoil of our hearts. Enough, please, Claire exclaimed suddenly, stepping back, tears glistening in her eyes that pierced me with their rawness. It's not that easy. You think you can just come here and fix everything that's broken in you, in us, just by talking? My heart sank as I recognized the hesitation, the fear in her voice. The weight of unspoken words, shared losses, and a complicated history hung between us like a chasm that felt insurmountable. I don't want to fix it. I want to face it together, if you'll let me. I don't want to fight this alone anymore, not against my past or what we lost. The silence stretched, filled only by the patter of rain and the heavy sound of my heart beating against my ribcage. What if the storm is just a distraction? A small voice in my head whispered, urging me to confront the truth buried deep within me. In that moment of raw vulnerability, just as we both stood on the precipice of an emotional awakening, my phone buzzed harshly in my pocket, slicing through the tension like a knife. I winced, momentarily distracted by its insistence. I slipped it out, the screen blaring with a name that made my stomach knot. Sam. Not now, I muttered, quickly silencing it. I looked back at Claire, who was studying me with apprehension. With that one act, I felt the fracture deepen. Sam wasn't just a name. He was the shadow trailing behind me, the enigma of my choice, the man who had unknowingly pulled me away from my past while offering kindness that felt foreign and misplaced. But I didn't want to think of him. I wanted to focus on Claire, on the magnetic pull that still tethered me to the life I had once fought to leave behind. Pain washed over her features again, moments heavy with unresolved history slipping through our fingers like the rain cascading down around us. I can't do this, not now, Claire pleaded, her voice breaking just slightly. It was then I heard it, the distant sound of laughter, mingled with music spilling from a nearby shelter. It was unexpected, out of place against the bleakness of the storm. Yet somehow it beckoned a strange contrast of hope and despair. Maybe we should go. My words trailed off, knowing even as I said it that the pull of our unfinished conversation hung in the air like a suspended note. Claire's eyes flared momentarily, as if she were about to argue, but then she took a shuddering breath, her walls slowly crumbling. It felt like time suspended, an unspoken agreement binding us both as we lifted our heads to the sound. Just for a moment, I whispered, urging her forward, desperate to catch a glimpse of what lay ahead. Let's see what's inside. We stepped away from our tumultuous past, and into the small glow of warmth housed in the cafe, each raindrop a reminder of what held us together and apart. The warmth enveloped us, mingling with a cacophony of voices and laughter, but my heart remained still, pulsing against the weight of uncertainty. As we entered, the faces around us blurred, yet there, in the corner of the room, my eyes locked onto a familiar silhouette. There he was, Sam, leaning against the bar, his laughter ringing out with that ever-charming charisma that had first drawn me in. But beside him stood another figure. A woman, radiant with confidence, laughing at something he had just said, her fingers brushed against his arm, a gesture so casual and intimate that it felt like a punch to the gut. All the air escaped my lungs. With Claire beside me, the warmth began to fade, making way for an icy grip of betrayal I had not anticipated. My past was standing there, unaware of how the shockwaves of our encounters would leave ripples far beyond just the moment. Claire's hand squeezed my arm, a silent question in her eyes as we froze, and in that instant, I wondered if I had just stepped into a storm far more treacherous than the one outside. Just as awareness dawned on me, the moment stretched into an eternity, binding us in a network of unresolved feelings, choices, and heartbreaking revelations. Perhaps this reunion was meant to be a simple step toward understanding, but in the glow of hazy lights and shifting truths, it felt like the beginning of something I had never expected to confront: love, heartbreak, and the haunting echoes of a past I might never truly escape. The cafe buzzed with energy, an almost surreal contrast to the chaos swirling in my heart. Laughter, music, and the aroma of fresh coffee sought to embrace us, wrapping around the palpable tension that lingered like a veil. Claire's grip on my arm tightened, her fingers trembling with uncertainty. "Is that him?" she whispered, her voice barely cutting through the crowd, but I knew she sensed the same surge of recognition as I did. I nodded mutely, my heart pulsing heavily in my chest. Sam was unmistakable, even from the distance. His broad shoulders relaxed against the bar, his smile radiating the kind of warmth that drew people in, always had, always would. I glanced at the woman beside him, her laughter a sweet melody spilling into the air, while their shared intimacy crystallized a vision that struck through the fragile chords of my soul. "Do you want to leave?" Claire asked, her voice caught between fear and curiosity. I felt her gaze anchoring me, a question that echoed through the hollow chamber of my chest. Part of me wanted to flee, to evade the tidal wave of emotions crashing over me. But another part, a stubborn, naive part, yearned to confront what I had tried so hard to ignore. "I don't know," I admitted, my throat dry and raw. The sound of his laughter rolled towards us, imbued with joy in a way that felt almost like a taunt, mocking my inability to move forward. Claire leaned in, her breath warm against my ear. Maybe we should go talk to him. The thought was absurd. The turbulence swirling between users' shared history, the unspoken pain felt momentarily muted by this new dynamic. Here we were, on the edge of clarity, yet life was reminding us how complicated the truth could be. "What do we even say?" I replied, biting back the swell of hurt. "Truthfully?" she replied softly, her eyes darting back to Sam, who now seemed to sense our presence. "Maybe we tell him what he means to you, to us." The words hit me like icy rain, splashing against the fragile citadel I had built around my heart. Did I really want to expose myself further, lay bare so much of the anguish I had buried for years? But as Sam finally looked our way, catching my eye, I steeled myself beneath the weight of his gaze. It was a mirror, reflecting everything I had tried to bury. Before I could process his reaction, the woman beside him tilted her head slightly, a brief moment of curiosity flickering across her features. And just like that, the spark of recognition ignited something. Sam's smile faded, replaced by a mask of surprise, then warmed again with that signature charm, as though he was about to pull me into a dance. "Claire," he called, waving us over with that familiar nonchalance that had always made the world feel better. But as Claire stepped forward, hesitance clung to her like dusk. I remained where I was, a chief spectator in what could easily be a turmoil of emotions most would only read about in novels. "Is this a bad idea?" Claire murmured, turning back to me. Her eyes whispered doubts I could not hide from. "What if he doesn't want to talk to us? What if it's either that or we're stuck in this limbo?" I replied, an edge creeping into my tone that I quickly sought to tame. "We need to face this, but," she asked, almost pleadingly. "Maybe not now," I concluded, startling even myself with the sudden realization dawning on me like the first blush of dawn. My heart ached, torn between the memories of what once was and the chaotic existence of the present, full of possibilities and the ghosts of unmet dreams. Yet, before another moment passed, before I could hold on to the fleeting notion of retreat, the unexpected happened. Sam rose from his seat and strode toward us, his presence both commanding and disarming. Claire's hand slipped from my grasp, as if she sensed the shifting tides of fate. I could only stand frozen, paralyzed under the weight of unanswered questions, Hey, I didn't expect to see you both here. His voice resonated with warmth, but I detected a hint of something else, an edge of discomfort, perhaps? He glanced behind me, and my breath quickened at the sight of the woman who had relaxed beside him, now standing like a guardian, assessing us. Hi, Sam, Claire chirped, and there was an almost unnerving earnestness in her tone that made my heart race even faster. Oh, we actually were just. But before she could finish, Sam's attention shifted back to me, his smile faltering as something unreadable passed between us. A ghost of a memory danced in the air, a snapshot of better days intermingled with shadows of our past. I've been meaning to talk to you, he said finally, lowering his voice as if the weight of the conversation demanded secrecy. There's something I never got the chance to say. The words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Time stalled as I wrestled with the magnitude of their meaning. What could he possibly say that would change the trajectory of our lives? But before I could gather my thoughts, the unexpected woman stepped closer, a triumphant smile stretching across her face. Sam, do you want to introduce us? She asked playfully, her voice lilting over the tension brewing like a storm cloud inside me. I felt the world tilt, spiraling toward an impending moment I wasn't ready to face. Right, Sam said, hesitating as his gaze flickered between Claire and me. This is Olivia, my fiancée. The word crashed over me, an avalanche of reality that sent shivers down my spine. Fiancé. A reality that echoed the hazards of decisions not made. An unexpected turn in the story I thought was so far from being written. My breath caught in my throat, and the laughter that once filled the cafe receded to a distant echo. My world had tilted on its axis, and the cliffhanger of my heart was only just beginning. The air thickened with unspoken words, the laughter of the cafe now a distant hum, muffled by the reality that crashed into me with a force I couldn't comprehend. Sam's fiancée. The swift, sharp knife of it sliced through me, nearly severing the tenuous hold I had on my emotions. My mind was a whirlwind of memories, fragile moments tattooed to my heart, taunted by this unexpected jolt of fate. Fiancé? I echoed, as if the word carried the weight of symphonies lost in the silence between us. Claire's hand found mine, squeezing tightly, but any comfort her presence offered felt smothered by the rising tide of sorrow engulfing me. I needed clarity. I wanted to ask how this was possible, how he could move on so effortlessly while I clung to the remnants of what we'd once shared, but the words melted away into an ocean of uncertainty. Sam offered a tentative smile, but it faltered as he saw my face. I know this is surprising, but I wanted to explain. Explain what? My voice, once soft and hesitant, emerged hoarse and edged with a defiance I hadn't anticipated. I could feel the heat radiating from my cheeks, the tumult of emotions threatening to spill over. How you've moved on. How you've genuinely found happiness. I was scrolling through the faces that clustered around us, frozen in their own orbit of curiosity as they tuned into our conversation. My heart raced, a captive in my chest, desperately vying for recognition. Olivia and I, he started, but my attention snapped to her. She stood beside him, a portrait of confidence, her features glowing with something I couldn't identify as joy or pride. I felt the sting of resentment stir within me, curdled by the laughter that seemed to flaunt itself just behind her smile. She's beautiful, Sam. I can see why you chose her, I said, perhaps too sharply. Claire shifted beside me, her discomfort palpable, but the spiraling anguish in my gut had taken control. I turned away momentarily to compose myself, before the dam of my heart fully broke. I breathed deeply, savoring the aroma of burnt coffee and cinnamon that seemed to cling to my very skin. Look, Sam said, his tone firm yet pained, I did not expect you to see us here today. I've been trying to reach out to explain everything since you left. I interjected, a bitter edge to my question. I felt Claire's gaze drilling into my side, cautioning me to hold back, but the walls I had built began crumbling with each heartbeat, echoing the memories of what could have been. You could have chosen to stay, to work through it with me. The silence that followed felt heavier than the clamor around us. I could almost hear my own heart breaking, reverberating louder than the world beyond. My eyes flickered back to Olivia, who stood achingly poised, seemingly unfazed by the whirlwind around her. Sam leaned into her, unaware, or perhaps unwilling, to acknowledge the fissures opening between us. "Olivia, she's been my rock," Sam said finally, his voice a low murmur wrapped in sincerity. "I thought I lost you forever, and when I found her," his voice trailed off. My heart clenched. Could he truly think he understood the hurt I had felt? Was I merely a chapter in his life that he could easily close? The thought constricted my chest, forcing me to wrestle with the burgeoning realization that I had never truly mattered to him in the way I had once believed. "Olivia," I said, my faltering voice daring to break the silence that stretched between us, "do you know what you're stepping into? Do you have any idea how he left things?" "Actually, I do," she replied, her voice light, but a knowing glimmer in her eyes suggested a deeper understanding. Her reply hit me like a slap. I felt the momentum shift as Claire shot me a cautionary glance, signaling for me to stop. "Sam and I talk about his past, often," Olivia continued, her tone sweet yet underscored with an edge of triumph. "He told me how special you were to him. I never wanted to replace you, but we're building a future together." And just like that, an unexpected tenderness glimmered in her eyes. It was nearly disarming, her admission a momentary release from the tight bubble of tension suffocating me. Even amidst the agony, I felt a thread of something resembling hope weave through the air, as if the fates were granting me a fleeting chance to reclaim what I thought I had lost. Suddenly, my phone vibrated in my pocket, snapping me back to the moment, to this cacophony of emotions and choices sprawled before me. I glanced at the screen, a message from an unknown number. My stomach twisted as I opened it. "Meet me tonight at the old oak tree. I have something you need to know." The words sat heavy and ominous, offering a path I had no idea whether I wanted to take. My heart raced, the weight of the encounter with Sam, and the swirling revelations around me broken only by the unnerving urge to flee toward my own uncertainty. As I pulled my gaze away from the screen, I saw Sam watching me, confusion etched across his features, and I realized I stood on the precipice of decisions that would dictate the next chapter of my life. The weight of past choices loomed over me, yet the path ahead sparkled with uncertain clarity. "Are you okay?" Claire asked, her concern sheening with the weight of our shared past. "No," I whispered, my voice tinged with the raw edge of vulnerability. "But I'm not done yet." Turning back to Sam, I forced a tremulous smile, feeling the shards of my heart coming together in a wild, chaotic dance. "I guess this conversation isn't over." "Not yet." In that moment, the knot in my chest released enough to let a bit of hope shine through, even amidst the heartbreaking turmoil. I didn't know if I was ready for what lay ahead, but life, with all its messy intricacies, still pulsed steadily beneath the surface. The meeting beneath the old oak tree was a decision born from desperation, a choice muddled with hesitation yet knitting hope tighter around my heart. I could almost hear the voices from the past merging with the present, intertwining like the roots sprawling beneath the surface of the very tree I approached. Each step felt heavy, weighted with purpose and uncertainty. The early dusk blurred the outlines of nature, casting everything in shades of gray and whispering secrets only the wind could decipher. As I neared the gnarled trunk, memories that swirled in my mind began to transform into the echoes of footsteps I had longed to hear. Were they real? Or merely an illusion, a mirage of nostalgia leading me back down a road I thought I had closed off for good? Then, there he stood, cautious yet steadfast, a familiar silhouette framed against the silver shadows of twilight. My heart pounded in an erratic rhythm, the dance of emotions flickering between dread and anticipation. "You came," he said softly, his voice enveloping me like an embrace, warm yet tinged with uncertainty. I didn't know if I would, I confessed, the vulnerability of my confession a crack in the emotional armor I had worn for too long. But I needed to understand to confront everything. Me too, he admitted, the ghost of pain grazing his features an echo of the heart I once held. There was a sincerity in his eyes that often got lost in the shuffle of busyness. This time, with the dim light weaving between us, I could see the distress beneath the surface, painting a picture both familiar and unsettling. We were always better together, he said, his tone laced with profound yearning that entangled my heart. I thought leaving would fix everything, but it didn't. Not for either of us. Then what did it do? I challenged, the knife edge of bitterness flashing through me. All we've done is run from what we truly are. He sighed deeply, weighed down by the shadows of a past that had shaped us both. I thought if I found happiness with someone else, it would mean I could let you go. Did you? The question lanced through the tension that bound us, drawing blood from the deep wound still raw. Did you love me, or was it all just an illusion we built on the ashes of our dreams? Silence fell heavy, mingling with the whispers of the leaves rustling above us. His gaze bore into mine, searching for clarity, and beneath that shared weight of unspoken words, I saw a flicker of something new and awakening. I was scared, he finally confessed, his voice trembling. I was scared that if I tried to love you again, I'd fall apart completely. That would crash again. The truth echoed in the chilled air, weaving a sense of vulnerability into the already raw fabric of our connection. We can't keep hiding behind fear, I urged, stepping closer, my heart racing like a live wire. If we want something real, we have to face it. All of it. Or it will consume us. We don't have to fight against our past. We can use it to forge a new path. He took a deep breath, the warmth of his presence brushing against my skin, igniting the hope that had once flickered so vividly. What if I'm not enough? What if the hurt we caused each other eclipses whatever is left between us? Then we stand together in it, I replied, stronger now, my resolve pouring through the cracks of uncertainty. Let the pain remind us why we need to grow. It doesn't matter what lies ahead, as long as we don't face it alone. In that moment, the storm inside me calmed, and an unexpected sense of peace settled over us. Maybe what we had lost was not so far gone. The walls we built around our hearts became less like barriers and more like stepping stones, allowing us to traverse over the treacherous waters that threatened to drown us in despair. Let's stop pretending, I whispered, locking my gaze with his, the connection sparking anew between us. I am tired of running, and I am tired of pretending I don't want you in my life. The truth hung between us, swaying like the branches above, and then, as if time and fate conspired, he stepped forward, gently wrapping his arms around me. In that embrace, I felt the weight of our past slowly lighten, as the warmth of something undeniably real began to blossom for the second chance, woven from hope and newfound trust. Whatever happens next, am ready, he murmured against my hair, the warmth of his breath igniting the faint spark of something alive in my chest. As I melted into his embrace, one truth became clear: a fearless love was worth holding onto, enough to inspire a promise of acceptance, forgiveness, and discovering ourselves once more. And just like that, the thunder echoed through the heavens, a final reminder that storms might rise, but together, we could weather them all. I stepped back slowly, the nuances of our past still imprinted upon us, but tempered by the bonds we dared to rebuild. In that silence, we drew in a shared breath, the promise of what could be, a chance to anchor ourselves in the moments yet to come. And as we stood there, two stars finding their way back to connection, I knew this was just the beginning of a story written not only in the echoes of loss, but also in the triumph of love rekindled. With our hearts attuned, we stepped into the embrace of the unfolding night, ready to find our way back to each other, resolute in knowing love, in its purest form, is a choice we made again, finally free to embrace the miracles of tomorrow. Together, then? I asked, a smile breaking through the fragile remnants of bygone sorrow. Together, he affirmed, his conviction sealing the promise of renewal in that sacred space beneath the old oak tree. And it was beneath that tree, with the world echoing around us, that I felt the last remnants of doubt slip away, replaced by a shining hope. When love finds a way back, it becomes a story worth living.